A new exhibit at Frank Lloyd Wright's Martin House is giving a voice to the women who lived and worked at the National Historic Landmark.
Jesse Fisher, the executive director of the Martin House, is here to give us a look into how they're celebrating these stories. And Jesse, we were just chatting a little bit. They're often untold stories. You know, you think of the Darwin Martin House, you think of Frank Lloyd Wright, but you're not necessarily thinking of the history beyond that. So can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, we're really obviously very proud of Frank Lloyd Wright's legacy here in Buffalo, and it's such a special thing that we have. But the history of the house actually goes much beyond that and is so deeply entwined with the history of Buffalo, and of course, so much to do with women and how they impacted and connected with their families, their communities, their culture. And so we really wanted to spend some time and do a deep dive into what that meant at the Martin House and give people a little window into the history of 100 years ago.
So historically speaking, what did that mean? What did the role of women mean at the Darwin Martin House?
Well, it meant a lot of different things, and I think that's one of the reasons we're so excited about celebrating this exhibition. So we have, of course, Isabel Martin, who was the matriarch of the family, and then we have all these really interesting women who worked at the Martin House, and we go into their stories pretty deeply. People don't always know that Isabel Martin had a pretty debilitating eye condition, and so at one point she brought in a family helper who was her companion. Her name was Cora Herrick. She became so close to the family that the children called her Aunt Polly, and she kept an extensive diary, so we know so much about what life at the Martin House was like 100 years ago. We know the books they were reading, we know the exhibits they were going to see. They were great patrons of the arts, and so we really explore a lot of that. They spend a lot of time thinking about voting and women voting specifically, and so we get to explore all of that at the Martin House.
What type of items will people see in this exhibit?
Most of the items that are on view in this exhibition have actually never been seen by the public before, so we're really excited to share some of these things. So we have some dresses, we have the headpiece from Dorothy Martin's wedding. She got married at the Martin House, and we have the headpiece that she wore. We have those original diaries that we were just talking about. We have a number of items that we borrowed from the History Museum about women's suffrage and women getting the vote in Buffalo to really illustrate that part of the story. So it's a really extensive collection of things.
Let's talk a little bit more about those diaries. I'm fascinated by that because you get to tell history rather than a history book like you would see at a schoolhouse of someone's own thoughts, their own life experiences. So cool. I love that, being able to tout that as one of the main things here. What was it like? Were they fighting for women's rights? You mentioned women's suffrage, and here we are geographically, Western New York, close to, of course, the Finger Lakes. Was there any ties to that back then?
Well, there was a lot of ties intellectually, a lot of ties in terms of what they were reading. Yeah. They were going to lectures, of course. We had a lot of women from the larger women's movement here in Buffalo, and they were actually going to see and hear about them. What I think is really interesting is the women of the Martin House took some time to make up their mind. You know, it was controversial. I think we today take this for granted, votes for women, but it was not. It was a new idea, and so they really took their time and studied it. So they went to anti-suffrage lectures and they went to pro-suffrage lectures and really spent a lot of time. And so in the diaries you can really see their thinking evolve, and they ultimately do come out and support women getting the vote. But to your point, it's so interesting to read it through the minds of real women who are living these pros and cons and really trying to think, what does this mean for my family, for my daughters, for my sons? So it's really interesting way to learn history and really feel it.
It feels, or it sounds rather, really immersive. So what can people know about this? When can they see this exhibition, and how long is it going on for?
So the exhibition opens on Friday, on Valentine's Day. So if you're still looking to make some plans, come on down to the Martin House. It runs through June 2nd, so you have lots of time. Members of the Martin House always come in free to our exhibition, so that's a great way to check it out. On weekend mornings, we actually have a tour that's Women of the Martin House, and exhibition tickets are included with that tour. So if you come and do the longer tour, and then you can come and really spend some time with the objects in the exhibition, so that's a really fun way. We also have free Fridays, the fourth Friday of every month, and through the end of May. Come on down and check it out. We'll be open from 12 to 8 on those days, so a little bit later. You can have a nice beverage in the cafe and go and see the exhibition for free. So there's all kinds of ways to check it out. And of course, martinhouse.org. That's our very easy to remember website, and all the event information and getting tickets and all of that is right there.
Excellent. Well, we will have all of that information on our website, WIVB.com. Jesse, thank you so much for being here. This is really informational and very cool.
Great. Thank you.